At 3.
At 3.
Okay.
All right, man. I don't know. You could do this different every week.
We need music, like intro music.
Oh yeah.
Like
You're
a. Oh, we have our BRS music. We should try to find a way to implement that.
like Metallica.
No, I'm okay.
Like thunder.
Copyrights on that. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe not.
What's going on, guys?
Welcome. All right, so we got a few people that are waiting to come in. We might as well just give some stuff away, dude. We're just gonna roll right into it, and then we'll roll into today's topic. Which, I know you had 30 minutes of heaters last week, so, why not an hour more?
I don't know if you did.
Not just heaters, but temperature.
For those who actually watched the whole thing, I did, and it's pretty interesting.
All right, man. So those of you who don't know, and you're watching, we just give away stuff at the beginning here just while we roll in. So we give away orders. We give away, your whatever's in your cart, man. You got to do is be a preferred reaper. So click the link on the bottom of every web page and join us. Richard Miles here, Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. And got $64 back onto his account for a 6-foot do-it-yourself screen top kit for rim tanks. So nice. Bravo, man, that was free. Or actually, the next thing you buy is free. Jeremy Martin here, man. He's got $71.98 going back to his account from Rittman, Ohio. A 6-stage replacement filter kit from Bulk Resupply and 1.5 pounds of citric acid. Right on,
yeah,
man.
that
Having that
good.
stuff around is nice. And
it's a cart.
$50. This is a cart. So cool, man. The calcium reactor stuff. All right, so this gentleman is John Me from where?
Down here.
San Jose, California. Is getting 8.8 pounds of Reborn calcium reactor media, revived coral cleaner, and a short blade plastic clip for an aquarium. So awesome, man. Awesome. All three of these people getting their stuff for free. So,
yeah.
All right.
Right after we
I bet you everybody's logged in now, man. So we're going to, you can do that later.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about temperature and stuff, but mostly going to answer questions, So, we talked about this stuff for a half hour Friday, but I'm sure there's all kinds of more questions to answer. And there's even some stuff in there, man, I just couldn't fit in, know? So I do my best to try to get it all in there, but some of it gets a little drawn out, maybe a little better for this kind of format than any other. So, I don't know, man. You had written some notes here. Do we have a question already?
I got some.
All right, man. That thing's tiny today.
Will a 200 watt heater use the same amount of power as a 300 watt heater to heat the same amount of water? Oh, there's more. To heat the same amount of water up, shown in Apex Fusion. Is this the best? Is it best to buy a smaller or larger heater?
Is it just me, or today is the font smaller?
Well, I don't know, because I think my eyes are getting... Oh, you just had a birthday, though, didn't you?
Maybe it is. I just had a birthday. Maybe it's just me. I don't know. I can barely read.
Age.
All right. Maybe it's farther away or something. I don't know. All right. Anyway, so 200 watt, 300. That's a good question, man, because, in theory, it just wouldn't be on as often. Right?
Yeah. So if unless a larger body of water, 200 watt would just be on all the time.
So if I had a, 50-gallon tank, right, and I put a 200 watt heater in there or a 300 watt heater, I think the net amount of power consumption would probably be, it's pretty similar. There might be some nitpicky stuff in there, like how it powers up and down or operating wattage of the whole thing. But I think in general, it'd just be on a third less time using a third more power, and it'd be about the same.
Because it's heating it faster.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it takes less time for the 300 watt to heat the same that the 200 watt does, and then in theory it runs less time.
Yep, but if you watched our video the other day, you would say overpowering your heater is probably a bad idea.
Just in case?
Yeah, because it gets stuck on, man. It's going to cook your tank in about 30% faster.
Soup.
Yeah, so overpowering heaters is generally a bad idea, especially you always got to overheat it, power it a little bit if you're only going to have one, especially because it's going to change temperature, in the ambient room or fans or, whatever is going to change a little bit. So it's got to be a little bit more capable if you only got one. But if you're going to go do that a little bit and then plus another 30%, you're starting getting bad news.
I've always wondered what the wattage per gallon recommendation was, and I researched before we got in here, and it seems like generally it's about 2.5 to 5 watts per gallon or something. But I wonder if like here in Minnesota, I don't know if that holds true. Depending on your ambient temperature?
It's going to be a relationship to the ambient temperature in the room as well as evaporation, and stuff like that. So I guess, like in my office, it's freezing. Yeah. So the stupid thermostat in my office sucks. It shares it with like the conference room. So to have a normal temperature with glass in my room, in my office, it's got to be like 82 inside the conference room, and then everybody yells at me. So I don't know. So in my office, man, you probably have to have way more temp because it's probably 65 degrees, man. Like fingertips go numb writing these scripts. So I don't know, man. I don't know. All right, what else we got here?
Andrew Jones just bought the high door heater yesterday. Hope you all don't change your mind and make him return it.
I gotta say, I never used a high door heater, but.
I don't have an example here.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never used one, but I know at one point it was like one of the only UL certified ones or CE out there. I think Eheim is UL now too, but I mean that's a pretty hard thing to get for. UL here with the Eheim. I don't think the Cobalt one is, man.
AccuTherm.
I don't. That's not like I know for certain the Phoenix ones aren't. So so. The thing about it is that if you go look at the reviews on these things,
they speak.
Like
Well, on those ones specifically.
Yeah, this one specifically.
Oh, okay.
Not so good, but like honestly, all of them. So
those are the ones with the pink dial on the top, the red dial, the manual
it's not very
dial.
adjustable. But,
okay.
So I don't know. It's cheap though for sure, man. So like it's definitely one of the cheap ones out there. It is one of the ones though that had a 2-year warranty on it when we went through that whole thing. So for those of you who didn't follow us last on Friday, man, like a lot of things we go through is when do you change out your heater?
Oh yeah.
I mean, like I suggested in the past, man, change it out like every year, right? But like people laugh at me. They're like, I'm not gonna take a good working product and throw it in the trash. Well, like,
did you see the results of the poll? We did a poll on Reef to Reef that was how long until your first heater failed you, and I put in choices like less than 6 months or less than 6 months, a year, 1 to 2 years, 3, all the way up to 4, and then all the way up to like never. And the majority, the overwhelming majority is in like 4+ years or never.
Yeah, so you know what though? That's misleading. So you go look at it and it's like 4+ years and never.
Yeah.
Except for if you do the math, man, like 1/3 of it is within the first year. So there's this giant bar here of it lasts a long time.
Yeah.
But 1 in 3 chance it's going to break in the next year, man. That's a hell of a gamble.
Those are pretty good odds on fail.
I don't know, man. Like, am I going to bet my whole? Like, it depends how much money you got in your tank, right? So, like, that's why you see it, so frequently. Like, 1 in 3 fail in a year is pretty bad.
Yeah.
Man. Like, I would call it terrible. You know, like, those are really bad odds. It's not if you're one of the 2/3, but like. If I could say, like, you want to bet $30 right now that your tank is going to survive the next year,
just $30?
Yeah, because that's how much the heater is.
Yeah, but the things in my tank cost way more than $30.
Yeah, the heater's $30.
Yeah,
though,
I know.
Man. You're betting your tank on that thing right now.
Yeah, that's tough.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So you know what? So one of the things that we came up with though was like, hey, let's look at the warranty in these things. And I know that warranty doesn't like give a 1-to-1 ratio of how long it lasts, but like. For sure, if I'm the guy that made these things, and I'm not willing to replace them past a year because so many of them are breaking, it's financially unwise for me to warranty them past a year. Knowing full well that 90% of people would never go through the process of a $30 warranty. When I say 90, maybe 95, that is a mark that's worth chucking. If the manufacturer thinks it's going to last 6 months, why are you betting on 4 years?
Research then.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so I mean that's not 100% because I'll just tell you right now, the Eheim is guaranteed for 3 years right in the front here, but with Eheim you got something with a international type warranty service. I don't know who you'd even call in the U.S. to get warranty service on it. So I imagine a little bit of a runaround. So super easy to warranty something that you have no intention on actually fulfilling. That's why I like the Cobalt guys, man. These ones are 3 years as well.
Yeah.
I found it in the instructions. So I don't know if it says
right on the front.
Does it?
Yeah.
3 warranty right on the front with the Cobalt guys. So those guys are here in the U.S. I know them.
Yeah.
Vero and those guys. So I fully expect that they would actually replace the thing as needed. And, you know, like most of the heaters out there, they definitely had their own debacles where I think, you know, some of the neotherms, you know, exploded like 5 years ago.
Oh.
Maybe one breaks here and there. But you know what? Like all of them
At some point, yeah, all of them do. I mean, we
Yeah.
have an example right over here. So
Yeah, you know what? Actually, that was a good point, man. I saw one. Somebody said that it. You can bring the thing up here for a second. One of them, I saw a neotherm explode in somebody's tank, and they called it the goo or whatever that came out of it, and it was in the saltwater mixing bin like this one, right?
Yeah.
And so, for those of you guys who don't know, this guy exploded in our saltwater mixing bin. It's just like a, you know, I think it was a Cobalt Aquatics guy. I don't know.
no, Phoenix. I'm
Phoenix.
pretty sure.
That's what I meant. Phoenix. And exploded. And you could say, oh, man, Phoenix is terrible. But you know what I really think happened is the thing went dry.
Several times, multiple occasions.
I think multiple
Yeah.
times. So I think it went dry, and we sucked all the water out of it, and it just got overheated, or maybe got, you know, we had originally suction cupped it to the bottom, and maybe after time it kind of got flipped up or whatnot. And so, I mean, that's one thing about, you know, heating your saltwater mixing bins. In your sump, you usually will put the heater in a place where it doesn't matter. It could never run dry.
Right.
Somewhere in there will always be submerged.
Right.
But in your saltwater mixing bin, man, it can happen, you know. And so I would definitely think about that. This, by the way, like when it exploded and we used some of that water,
There's copper in it.
It was filled with copper, and it definitely had that effect on Noah's tank.
Yeah.
So it started wiping corals out like rapidly. Luckily, we got so much water around here in other locations, they were able to change it and save the tank. But we're not able to save the hair algae in there.
No, that's that's from the leaky roof.
Oh yeah, well
That's
you say
leaky
that.
roof water.
You know what?
Girls'
Actually,
hair
it
algae.
did save the hair algae, like an extra strength. Yeah. So, all right. Poor Noah. All right. What else we got in here?
What temperature range for a fully mixed SPS or LPS tank?
You know, that was one of the things, man, that, like, you know, I guess I never really spent a lot of time researching, like, what it is in a, you know, your average reef. But apparently, man, the, you know, temperature in your average reef is like 83 degrees.
Is it really?
Yeah, it would have.
Well, because I've seen polls. Reef Central had a poll a long time ago, and there's polls. I mean, these polls pop up like, "What do you keep your tank temp at?" And like 78 is pretty much everything I've ever seen, all across the board. Yeah.
Right? And so 83,
83.
man. 83. And like, it's like cross, like, I think Dr. Ron Shimmick did it. And, you know, I think Randy Holmes Farley was the guy that shared the post about it. But like, so like, oh man, 83. And granted, there's like currents and stuff in the ocean, you know, so it's a little different.
Changing
I don't know,
temp,
heard anybody in the home aquarium, man, intentionally trying to maintain it at 83. And here's a couple of reasons that I thought Randy Holmes Farley shared was there's way better, you know, oxygen saturation in the ocean than there is in our tanks here. And in our tanks, oxygen saturation, or not just in our tanks, but as it gets hotter, there's less oxygen or gas exchange in the water. And so things just go south faster. It's not like at 83, it's so little of the gas exchange that everything's going to go belly up.
Right.
But what happens if the power goes out? There was less to begin with. It goes faster.
Right.
And also, man, the ocean doesn't have to rely on that crappy heater over there, like not turning off or getting miscalibrated or whatnot, right?
So you're on the edge of the danger zone.
You're right on the edge, and you know, a couple of degrees, and you're watching whole reefs go out right now. You know.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that you know, I was reading about in, you know, the ocean was that the stuff, you know, isn't an instantaneous effect. So it's not like all of a sudden it's like, you know, 84 and everything dies. It's exposure to that for 6 months and then stuff starts to die. And so, like, that's one of those things where people, you know, in home aquaria just like kind of accept that, hey, once in a while coral dies. You know, man, it was probably 6 months of doing something wrong before it said finally, died. You know, and so, you know, we just try to remove those as much as possible. So I wouldn't go and tell anybody. I'm going to stick to my 78. You know, one of the things too is everything happens faster at a higher temp, slower at lower temps. I also would not. I've seen ranges people saying like, "Hey, I'll let it go down to all the way to 73." And now we're so far away from, you know, what it would be in the ocean, and I don't know, man. Like I'm certain. Like I had that first tank I showed you guys last week. The heaters went out in that one for weeks, man. Like I didn't know until finally. You know, I had kind of touched the water. I thought it was a little cold, but I like really didn't.
I think it was like low 70s or something.
I don't know. It was years ago.
Yeah.
So this is like, you know, 20 years ago almost, you know, like, or 18 or something. But like first take, and like, oh, it's cold, you know. And then I went back, and eventually things were dying, you know, after a couple months, and I realized the heater was done.
Oh.
You know, and so I just like cold things will go a really, really long time. But as soon as I got the heater back in, man, everything was good again.
Huh.
So yeah, I don't know, man. I wouldn't leave it as low as that. 78 is definitely the goal.
I mean,
couple degrees low, couple degrees high, you're still good. Nothing's gonna like catastrophically die.
that speaks volumes to the okay. So the aquarium controller. I mean, obviously I can mount under temperature and get alerts and stuff. But even if I don't have an aquarium controller, the little color changing sticker to put on the front that may be a little tacky, but hide it back in the corner. Even just a glance at that.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little those like heat sensitive stickers you can put in your tank. Just something,
Valuable.
man. Like I walk up and say, well, like I've stuck my hand in it, and like, it feels kind of cold. Oh yeah, it is. That's terrible.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think absolutely. And you know, and that was like where this guy came in. You know, we talked about it. You know, and not only will it, you know, I walk up and see a glance. It's kind of big, so you know, not the most ideal solution, but. You can walk up and see the temp, but it's going to go off a little auto-level alarm and flash at you and stuff saying, hey, man, the temp's bad.
Yeah.
Right? So if all you're going to do is run a couple of heaters or one heater, having something, man, the chances of you noticing it visually that something's wrong, it's because stuff is dying.
Yeah, it's far too late. Yeah.
So, I mean, it can go weeks and weeks and weeks before you recognize, you know, especially if two heaters, if one died, the chances that you know that you're relying on one of them at this point are so low if you don't have anything to monitor it. I mean, because the things turn on and off all the time.
So I look at it, and if it has a built-in controller, it may be on, it may not be off, but I don't know whether or not it's just working or not.
Yeah, so audible alarm for sure, you know, but you know, really the chances with this thing is $40. Why not buy like an Inkbird? You know, they're like $38.
That leads into a good question here. There's somebody was talking towards the top, Dave. It was one of these controllers. It was like, well, what was one of the best? Here we go. Best low budget non-Apex heater controller. I don't know about best, but affordable. There's some out there for sure. Like the Inkberg one that we had for a while.
Where's that little guy? This guy. I mean,
and then there's the Auto Aqua. That's like $30.
No, I think it's $60.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think it is. But you know what? I
Wow.
mean, this guy was simple. You just like honestly, before doing this video, I never really encountered it, but
It gives you a range.
yeah, it's like it's dummy proof, man. Is what it is.
Yeah.
You know, you plug in the heater into this thing. It's up to 1,000 watts. If you know it ever goes outside of that range, it will just turn your heater off, man.
Yeah.
Like no problem.
Or
right?
or alert with flashing
Yep,
light
the
and
little
everything.
light flashes, man, and there's an alarm, audible alarm says, "Hey, man, fix your heater."
Yeah, that's the
Right.
Auto Aqua for those listening.
Yeah.
Auto Aqua Smart Temp Security.
Problem with it is
the range.
the range is so
It's
big.
like
72 to like 83.
Yeah, it's a wide range.
I wish I could. I'm going to call somebody up over here and tell them to shrink that up a little bit because I totally use this otherwise, and I recommend it to other people. You know, because it's so simple. You just plug it in. There's no programming. There's no nothing. You know, I was going to say the Inkbird here, but my problem with the Inkbird is twofold. You know, the Inkbird's $38 and probably about the cheapest thing you can get.
Right.
The problem with the Inkbird though is that the thermostat currently is a little metal probe.
Oh, yeah, that's
it's
right.
just like crimped on the top, which is just fine if you never submerge it.
Yeah. You can submerge the metal tip, but not
the crimp part,
Right.
you know, past that. And it's really not to its credit, it's not really initially designed for this purpose,
Right.
you know. So reefers just kind of reuse stuff all the time. So, so if you don't submerge it, which is great, like in the tank, right? Because in the tank it's pretty stable. In the sump, man,
Fluctuation.
yeah, power goes out, goes
Yeah.
up. You know, like there's all kinds of reasons. So you have to find a place in the sump where water level will never rise past this to use it, which is not that many places in many cases. So just be aware if you use that. The second thing is I think it has a 2-degree swing. You know, so like
which is often the heater itself, almost like with the control. If you're using built-in controls, so
actually most of these things are like within the tenths of points.
A tenth.
Yeah, you know, there's like a couple of them, like the JBJ goes like 2 degrees,
Yeah.
but most of them are a couple of tenths. But like this thing is, you know, 2 degrees before it turns on and off, and so it's a pretty big range. I don't think it's gonna like hurt your tank or anything.
Not as
but
wide as 74 to 83 or
yeah, no,
something
not
like that.
like that, like 10 degrees. But you know, that honestly, I'd still maybe use. But the fact that the probe, But you know what? I got Zach here. Zach does all of our product
yeah.
merchandising here, and I think
some
he's
good
been working
stuff.
with those guys to get a sealed probe for it, so that's no longer an issue. As well as you know, you can keep the 2-degree temperature swing if you want, or shrink it down. So I think they're working on the
adjustable.
coating on it a little
Nice.
bit. So hopefully for $38, that will be the ultimate solution. There's another one out there that you know, somebody asked in the comments why we don't use is a Ranco.
Okay.
And
Yeah, I've seen
I actually
those.
used a Ranco on like one of my first takes because after I got sick of screwing it up, you know, it was actually in the frag tanks I had in the basement. But those things are expensive, man. Like, you know, you're into that thing for $150 with the proper probe and stuff. But the Ranco is a temperature controller often used on like furnaces and all kinds of like industrial applications. It's super heavy duty. I've never seen one fail, although I was talking to the WWC guys for last week's video, and they actually had one that failed at the moment. You know, it was failing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So on the call we had. So you know, those things work too. But at 100 and some bucks, man, like, yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
man. The problem is actually, you know what it used to be is the Reef Keeper was $120, and it
was just as good.
It-
But you also got some other functionality out of it too.
Yeah, so you know what, man? Like I like was a little shy about it in the last video, man. Terrence, if you're listening, man, release it like a Reef Keeper replacement for God's sake.
You
know, like
an entry level,
entry
type,
level, man.
really
2 outlets,
low cost,
plugs into whatever.
does
you
at
know,
least temperature.
No pH probe, no nothing, man. Like just does temperature, like a little control that does like Apex stuff, and then emails me. You know, like for if you can give me $100, $20 that controls my temperature, and then emails me or texts me when there's a problem, I'll
Done.
pay every day. And
Yeah.
then, you know, the problem is then you're stuck in the, like, apex ecosphere, and before you know, you got dosing pumps and
Which is
stuff.
not a bad thing.
Well, yeah, so listen, Terrence, like, hook us all up, because the loss of the Reef Keeper was a major loss to the hobby to me, man. At $120, that was an awesome solution,
was.
specifically for monitoring your temp and backing it up. It was calibratable, it was configurable, you know, and...
We still use 1 or 2 around the office here in our water change stations and things like that too. Turning off and on pumps.
I don't know. I should ask
timers.
Jason if he did it. Actually, a guy who lost his temp probe went out, right?
Huh.
And you know, he's bummed out because what do you do now? You own this old Reef Keeper that doesn't, you know, nobody supports anymore.
Right.
And I told Jason to go dig in the closet and see if he can send the guy some probes.
Bet we might have one or two.
I
in
bet
there.
you he did. I don't know. Hopefully, he could find some old ones, man.
Huh.
But yeah, so yeah, the Reef Keeper, man, big loss. Outside of that, honestly, man, I was going through all the external controllers that like we sell, and I mean, none of them get me super excited. This is just like one area that boggles the mind, man. Like, somebody out there should sell a decent option.
Well, I think that the one you and I were looking at in your office a minute ago before we got in here was that Phoenix one. I think we used to carry, but for me the problem with that one, it looks big, it's robust,
Right.
it's all calibrated. You can do all this other stuff with it, but it's one outlet. I can only plug one heater in it. I'm like, I'm not going to spend double what I paid for my heater to only control one heater. You know, so.
I think a lot of those like went wayside when Reef Keeper was around, because
There's
what
4
possible
outlets
reason
on
would you
there.
buy Ranco or any of those things, man, if the Reef Keeper existed?
Yeah.
Right. Now the Reef Keeper doesn't exist. Maybe it'll see us rise again, but I doubt it. I'm holding out hope here for Zach and the fixing the Inkbird to the reefing application. So if anybody can do it, Zach, bring it home. All right, man. Give me another question here.
Let's see. Should any heater you use as Krabby Dan ever lay down on the bottom of the sump, or should they always be suction cupped? And there's more. Suction cupped to the side. Same question for most heaters: titanium or true temp or cobalt. So glass, titanium, whatever.
You know, you get like conflicting result, or you know, like I've had conflicting, you know, information. Like all of them say you can submerge them, you know, the main element portion of it. Some of them say it'd be better if you didn't submerge the top of it.
Yeah.
Some of them, like the Neotherm, actually, man, the total conflict. You read the instructions and it says you shouldn't submerge the top.
Yeah.
But you talk to them and they say, yeah, you should, because the thermostat in these things is inside.
It's
of
usually
it.
in the top.
Yeah, like it's inside the heater, in the top of the heater. So if it isn't submerged to whatever degree, it doesn't even know what temperature it is.
Right.
You know, so
Huh.
yeah, they absolutely have to be submerged. So what I would do though is I like to put them on the bottom as much as I can, and you know, try to
Lay 'em.
secure them there,
Yeah.
down there, because like that play, they'll stay submerged. If you put them on the side, you know, make sure that they're going to stay submerged no matter what happens, right? Because no matter how smart you think you are and organized you are, like if you put them in an area where they won't be submerged, you'll forget one day, and then
Go
it
dry.
will burn a hole through your sump. It will kill the heater. If you're lucky, it'll just kill the heater. If you're even more or less lucky, you'll be like Josh, where it melts and leaks copper into the tank, or explodes goo.
Or explodes,
Yeah.
Well, you bring up a good point too that people are probably concerned about in asking this question too. Is what if you lay the heater? I've got an acrylic sump, and even underwater, I know this thing gets pretty dang hot. Like, is it going to melt through my acrylic?
Not underwater, man.
I wouldn't think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, underwater, I don't think there's any chance that it would cook anything like that. But
Exposed to air?
As soon as it's exposed to air, man, like you have no free game, man.
Yeah.
It could go dead any way it goes, So
that brings up another. And then there's brackets kind of like this. I brought this bracket out because one of Chris sent it to us. He's in the comments here. He asked if we liked our the bracket. He's the one that made his daughter made the socks for us.
It's some
Christmas
of the coolest
socks.
people like ever, man.
But I mean, he sent us this. I think Zach's looking at something like this. But these are brackets that can hold your heaters and magnets all out of acrylic and makes it nice and neat.
That's absolutely cool, man. Like anything that holds stuff in place to me. Like, it gives me security. Like, I think it was Terrence said one day, man, if it looks neat and tidy, it means safe.
Yeah.
Right? and like, there is a real
sense.
strong correlation between neat and tidy and safe. There's no question, man. Doesn't mean like insurance that for sure, but like, there's a very strong correlation between those two things. Putting a heater in the overflow box, okay.
Is that okay?
Oh,
So I'm trying to think of like most overflow boxes. Say if you got like a reef ready. So like this overflow box, the shadow or any of these kind of go through the back type ones. There's just no room. I don't see any room.
I guess
like the reef ready tanks that say they have a whole column as their corner overflow, and it
there's
probably
not really
fills.
water that goes like the water's kind of like if the water goes over the overflow and then there's the standpipes. This is all kind of stagnant.
Yeah.
So it's not that it it's going to turn over a little bit, but like, and it'll work probably, right?
Less efficient at heating the whole water column, though, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would not put it in there. That would be not my choice to put it. I guess is. And then there's that question like, do I put the temperature probes or heaters in the tank or in the sump?
Yeah.
And I like to try to. I mean, this doesn't apply to everything, and I always like to look at each install, uniquely. But like, one of the things that's kind of nice to do is to be able to put the temperature probe and the heater in totally different areas, right? If you have the ability to do so, because like, if your heater's like in your sump and the temperature probe's in the same area, like the return pump could go out, and your sump's hot. Tank's no good.
Ice cold.
Yeah, tank's ice cold, right? So like if you didn't have like power monitoring or an Apex or anything like that, so that'd be like one of the things that you could find out. Like, hey man, my power went out because the tank's actually getting cold, but the sump isn't. And also you can kind of change the cycles that these things turn on and off. So like if I put like in our case the refugiums first, so if I put the temp probe there and then I put the heaters in the chamber afterward, like it would have to heat the whole tank up like 1/10 of a degree, before it turns off. So you can start to, bring the on-off cycles down because these things are turning off every handful of seconds or whatever. Man, it's hundreds of thousands or millions of times a year. And I got to tell you, nothing that is $30 is made for millions of power cycles and expected to last 4 years.
Right.
That's why this thing lasts a year. And that was one of the things we hit in the video, man. It's like, why doesn't this thing work? Like, man, we're looking for a heater element, something that's designed to heat up and then heat back down hundreds of thousands, if not millions of times
in a year.
Yeah, it's gonna have. We only spent $30 on it, so like it needs to have like $1 thermostat inside of it. It like the calibration on it is gonna drift. All kinds of different things. And I think our expectations for what we're gonna get for $30 is like, man, like we're asking for a lot.
We're asking we're asking for a Jaguar when we were paying for
I mean, still though, like in this case, there's no Jaguar.
Okay.
Really, man.
Oh, you mean available for the hobby?
Yeah, still, man. If I wanted to buy a $500 heater that like was going to save the day and it never would fail me, man.
There.
It doesn't exist. I mean, when I say $500, that's obviously crazy, but there's no $100 heater, that like
that's
I can
leaps
trust.
and bounds heavier above the rest. Yeah, for sure.
I would call the Neotherm better. Like the accuracy of it was better. The on-off cycles were much tighter. I've never had one fail me yet. I mean, but
you pay a little more money for them.
I know they do fail, so I wouldn't represent it that way. So I'd pay a little bit more, but like. If you go look at the reviews, it's like instead of 2.5 to 3 stars, it's like 4.
Yeah.
And the 4 is 5s and 1s, right? Like there's 1 in 5 people, man.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I like to look at in the stars actually is like looking at 4 stars that can give you like a false representation. Like, oh yeah, that's mostly good, bad. Right? Yeah.
It's a mix of 1s and 5s and averaged out to 4.
Yeah, and like so somebody asked that about like a black box LED or something, on the hashtag AskBeerIsTV, and I'm like, yeah, cool, man, I'll go look at it, right? And man, it had like 3.5 stars, like so, like, hey, dude, probably, generally okay. It's $100. Like, how bad can it be? And it's like not mission critical. If it fails, it's probably gonna break off or something, right?
Yeah.
But if you actually tally it up and look at it, like, it's definitely about like 3 people that said it's awesome, and 1 person said it broke, or actually 2 in 1 in this case. It's 3 stars. So like. I don't know, man. 3 stars isn't really all that great, especially if you're 1 in 3, where like $100 is just garbage.
The star system's flawed.
Yeah, I don't know. It's different if you like. It's like some people thought 4, some people thought 5.
Yeah.
Somebody 3. But if it's polarizing, like the heaters are of 1 in 5, and pay attention because 1 in 5 it broke. And in this case, maybe I'm better off. Instead of spending $200 on or whatever on a heater, buy. Multiple $30 ones, and then throw them away. Like don't wait. And that's one of the things, man. Like I just got to keep driving home. This is an element of life support, right?
Like
so,
a big one.
Yeah.
Depending on where you live. Yeah.
It's an element of life support for this tank, right? And so, like, let's say like I was on like a rebreather or whatever. Something's keeping me alive. Yeah. We don't wait till it's broken. Like it's like. 3 times past warranty service, man. Like no, we'd never do that. Yeah. Well, I don't know. You're cheap. Maybe you would.
When I buy a rebreather that has a bunch of 1 stars and maybe a 5 to balance it out.
Yeah, eBay rebreather. Yeah, I don't know. No, man, you wouldn't do that, especially if it's only $30, man.
Yeah,
so
true.
like, I say this, and I'm on this crazy campaign. But the reality is I know nobody's going to do this. Yeah,
you're going to throw away this is what the rest of the world is thinking. You're going to throw away a perfectly good working heater at a year and replace it with a brand new one at $30 a year.
So what is it perfectly good?
I don't know. I don't
know, man. Because here's the thing, man. Is it like what you've done is like I plugged it in the wall. It probably has like 95+% like success rates for the first 6 months or something, right? And then at 1 year, it's like 85, right? So it was perfectly good. Like, I'm now down to like, 1 in 9 chance my tank's going to die because of this thing. At 2 years, apparently, according to Reef to Reef, man, like 1 in 3 chance, it's not perfectly good.
No, it's not.
It's less than perfect to a point that's tolerable to you.
Okay, so then you can make the argument maybe every 1.5 years, or stretch it out to 2 years. I don't know.
Whatever you want to do, man, but just don't wait till it fails.
Like, that's the message for sure.
Or dude, defy the odds, and just throw the dice.
Okay.
Like doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many people have come before me.
Yeah, I mean, somebody makes a good comment. Makes a good comment here about the warranty on some of these, or even the heaters. If it has a warranty, even if it has a warranty, it's a warranty for the heater. It's not a warranty for everything in your tank.
Yeah, it's $30. Nobody
will pay for your replacement of your corals and your fish and everything like that.
What it is even the guy that makes this thing isn't willing to risk the $30. Right? And you're willing to risk your old tank. The guy that knows how this thing is made, seen the factory, designed it, and knows this ain't gonna last more than 6 months.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a lot of failures past 6 months that we can't possibly insure past. So yeah, I mean, like these for him it's not even $30. A cost on these things to produce it is probably 15. You know,
and after
10.
it changed hands 4 times,
probably 10, man. Like I don't want to risk the $10. All right, let's get another one.
Steve's got a good one here. What thermometer do you use to calibrate controllers?
All right, well, let's shoot.
We for the longest time we were using that. What was the name of that tall, skinny
Traceable.
one? Yeah, the traceable. A couple of different traceable ones, and we had a traceable stick one. I think it's on our site for like $60 or something like that. That worked pretty well for a while. It was you made the argument in one of our BRSTV Investigates videos to where you could either pay the dollars for a really nice thermometer. Or you can buy like 3 cheap ones and then average them together. For us, we use that traceable one for a long time. Hannah has that. It's called the check temp, the digital one.
Like $38.
Yeah, and it's $38, and it's actually it works really well. So I would almost trust that one, kind of a standalone. I've been using like Zach's. I go to Zach's Dex and borrow his all the time. But the traceable one we use, that's like $60 But really, like. Go get a couple $10 ones or a few $10 ones and average them together.
Yeah, so that's what I'd say. And actually, Terrence gave me that idea. So all these things, if you look at them, they're all plus or minus like 2 degrees or something.
Yeah.
It's like guaranteed here on the side of this packaging to be, plus or minus 2 degrees or something, man.
Set it at 78, and it could be 76, and it could be 80.
Yeah, like who knows, man. And that's like if it was actually functioning,
right?
So if it's misfunctioning a little bit, malfunctioning, So I just found these things to be off by as much as 6 degrees, including the controllers, including even the apex. So, like,
you mean from the box? I pull it out of the box. I set it to 78, and it's nowhere near 78.
6 degrees off,
yeah.
Man. Right?
Yeah.
And the way you find that often is like when you're trying to set, like program your controller and program the heater, and they like conflict with each other, and it doesn't work. It's because one of them's off, right? And so, I found. To find one that I trust. In general, I trust those traceable ones, the pens. I also trust that Hannah one for the most part. In fact, a lot of people here trust the Hannah one more, and I wouldn't doubt it either way. They're like, NIST validated and whatever, right? I mean, these things are made for accuracy. Most of them are just, thermostats you're buying, to cook a steak or something, man. Like it's not made for that. Like, so I could go buy like a Insta-Read $80 thermopen, man.
Yeah.
Actually, and then you can test your steak and your tank, man. So maybe I'll do that.
I don't know.
But I guess I'd use one of those things, man. But in the absence of that, I go buy the 3 cheapest heat or thermometers I can, like wherever, man. The little
kitchen
guys
OXO type ones,
kitchen ones from from like a Target or Walmart or something like that. Get 3 of them and then average them together, and you'll be surprised how they are definitely 2 degrees off from each other.
Yeah, but on average,
if not more, So on average, man, for sure, enough. I won't be far enough that it will hurt my tank, right? And I'll be doing better than most, because most people didn't go out there and do that. But if you just want to do it once, you don't want to monkey around with 3 of those things, and they do need to be calibrated not frequently. But
I was going to ask you that
again.
Like, what would be your maintenance rhythm for calibrating temperature probes, controllers, or Apex aquarium controllers, any of them?
Oh man. Well, I like with the Apex to usually try to have 2, if I can.
Which we did.
I have different modules.
Yeah.
I'll buy the other probe so that one of them drifts from the other one. I mean, it's pretty rare that they wowould both go at the same time.
Yeah.
But remember that if the heater fails, that's one thing. If the thermostat fails, it's another. And like those Terrence would tell you, never ever use one of these straight up titanium heaters not plugged into a thermostat.
Yeah, no.
Because like the Apex, not necessarily the Apex is going to fail. Eventually, that probe is going to fail, right? For once anything submerged in salt water long enough is going to go. So 3 years from now, that thing is going to fail. And that's why we use the thermostat usually on the heater to back it up. So set the one in the apex to 78 and the heater to 80, or whatever controller you're using, or this guy will back it up or whatnot. But yeah, man.
So I think that brings up a big point that you talked about in a majority of last week's video, just redundancy. The built-in controller on the heater along with the controller, and then maybe multiple heaters and stuff like that.
I got a bit on this one, man. But I think I'm going to be curious what you guys think. Give me a thumbs up or down on this idea. But the one thing about this True Temp here is you can actually screw it to calibrate it.
Okay.
And I think partially that's because it needs to be calibrated more often. Like some of the other ones hold their calibration longer. So this thing is super simple. There's just a little piece of metal that bends at different temperatures and closes to context based on how it's bent. And I think over the years and energy going through it, it just kind of changes a little bit. So my opinion is that thing needs to be calibrated more often. But what was the other thing you were saying? Redundancy, right? Yeah. So this is one of the things, man, I've been thinking about a lot. And we're thinking about bringing a new heater in, and it's a little I guess it's not hush house. One of the things we were thinking about bringing is how do you pronounce it? Shigo. So this guy's a little bit more expensive. It's a German-made titanium heater, and instead of having plastic caps at the bottom, man, it's welded. It's welded.
Yeah.
And I was hesitant because we haven't brought it in yet, but they gave us exclusivity in the U.S. and stuff already, so hopefully it'll work out. But it's a big, heavy titanium heater, and it just has a plug on it, right? And just plugs in. They have their own external controller there. And so one of the things I was thinking about is hey man, could we just wire this thing right into a properly designed Inkbird, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But why would I do that, man? There's a plug there. Why not utilize the plug, right? And just call it a heater. It's got its own external controller. If I wire it directly into the Inkbird, it is now a standard heater.
It's a controller and heater built in one.
It's no different than this guy. Yeah. The controller's here, and there's a heater wired right into it, right?
It's all in one package, yeah.
Yeah. So that's what you think about as a heater. But the moment I separate it and allow you to plug it in, then it's a heater and a controller, and it's not the
two
same
separate
thing,
things.
right? It's kind of
good though, right?
It is, I think.
I think so.
So, here's the thing, man. If I do that, I got this German-made heater, right? That is welded on both ends, big, solid, heavy, German-made thing. Okay, it's got a plug that goes into a controller, right? Which means if the heater goes, I can throw the heater out. If the controller goes, I can throw the controller out. Don't necessarily need to throw both of them out, right? And now, man, I can plug it into the Inkbird, which is calibratable, right? So I can get it to the right temperature. It can change to the right temperature that I want it to be at, right? And there was a third thing in there somewhere, man. The on-off cycles I can change, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I got a totally configurable heater, right? So, what do I do with it? Do I back it up with another one of these things? That seems absurd.
With another controller, with another Inkbird?
Yeah.
Or Apex, or anything like that?
Okay, but so I'd plug this thing into an Inkbird and think that was normal. Would I plug an Inkbird into an Inkbird and think that is normal? No. It's the same thing, though, right?
Yeah.
Except for better, because they're both configurable. They're both settable down to the degrees that I would want them to, the finite. So one of the cool things is, though, in that scenario, if I did this one, what I would need is two controllers, essentially, and then go get a backup one. In this case, because there's two outlets on the Inkbird that we're looking at, right, I can plug two of my heaters into one, right, and then I can plug the one Inkbird into the other one. So I still only have two controllers, right, not three, right, because it goes up to 1,000 watts, and I've got all the redundancy I'm looking for.
Oh, just redundant.
Yeah, it'd be a little bit the German-made heaters are more expensive. There's no question. Yeah. But it isn't. I'd be shocked if it was more than $100. I'd be appalled. I think it'll be probably closer to 60. So, but I don't know for sure. But I think that scenario, man, I got a high quality heater element. I got it tied into a sealed solution that's configurable. I don't know. We don't know for sure.
We're gonna play around with it when we get them in.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna put it to the test, man. I don't want to sell garbage. So we're gonna keep working on it, but this idea is coming together for me. Hopefully we'll like it.
I mean, you make a really good point as far as having the ability to throw the heater away when the heater's broken or the controller away when the controller's broken, versus when you're buying most of these with the built-in, you have to throw both of them away when one might have been good, when one might not have been.
Well, and then if you got backups into your backup, and those things are only $38 or something like that. Maybe they'll be a little bit more when they've configured it, but they're pretty cheap. Whatever, $45 maybe. So if I got two of them in that way, like, I might be willing to wait until one breaks, especially the heater element itself.
Right.
If I get two heater elements, I will definitely let one of those break.
And that's a good,
because I'm not worried about off, man.
So and bringing up multiple heater redundancy, then, so you're talking not having, I need a 300 watt, so I have two heaters that are 150 watts a piece, and now I'm redundant. You're talking like I need to buy two heaters that each one can handle my tank temperature and what it requires to maintain solid tank temp.
No, you don't, because you can plug both of them into the same outlet because it goes up to 1,000 watts. So like, if you needed a 300 watt heater, you could do 250 and plug it in the same outlet, and they both turn on and off at the exact same time.
Okay.
And if one of them goes, it just wouldn't be able to heat it all the way.
So you would notice the temperature
and it'd
slightly
probably set
lower.
off an alarm,
Okay.
And tell you, hey man, this isn't where in the range it needs to be.
And just throw
one of these guys are
150s
gone,
away.
or replace it.
Yeah.
So without a thermostat built into the heater, it's not going to break on.
Yeah.
Right. The Inkbirds would. So I think I'd actually run the heater to its end life.
Okay.
Like especially if I thought I had a good one.
Yeah.
I think I'd run the actual the heater to itself, and maybe I'd just kind of cycle the thermostats out, replace one of the redundant thermostats every year.
So if you had two of them and you let one of them run to its end life, would you replace it like you would your headlights? To where if I'm going to replace one, I'm going to replace both of them at the same time, not just let one die and then let another one die
at the same time.
Yeah, or one died, but the other one's still kicking. Like, do I let that one die or just replace them both?
Well, so I've heard that argument before, and like one of the places where it's burned me before is in hard drives. So computer geeks out there, you build a RAID array, right? It protects you from any one of these hard drives going down. There's redundant information in there, and you're like, well, hey, man, it took 5 years for one of these to fail. Like, I'm just good, man. I'll replace it when I want to, right? Okay, no, because these things are spinning at the same 10,000 RPMs as all the other ones in there. They all came off the same exact line, right? And they all have the same tolerances, and don't be surprised if they break within a day of each other. I mean, because they have, they're really refined things, and it may not happen that way. And as I talk about it right now, like, if I ever do that again, I'm going to buy different brands of, they don't raid very well. Different brands. But I don't know, man. So the same thing, the heater controller, the thing's turning on and off at the same amount of times. Don't be surprised if it breaks together. Pretty close. All right, new one.
All right, let's see what else we got. There you go. I mean, when heaters fail, do they just stop working, or is it possible that they overheat? Both, and probably more likely in the on position. You think? It depends on the thermostat inside, more or less, right? Like if you've got that bimetal thermostat and it's constantly touching together, do you think it would fail in the fuse? Yeah,
so
exactly.
The bimetal thermostat will happen is the metal pulls apart, goes together, and once in a while arc will go back through there, and then it fuses together and it's stuck on for good.
Yeah.
So they can fail both ways. I mean, catastrophically, it's been my experience that they fail off more times than stuck on, but on.
That's
the
worse.
tank's done, right? If you don't have a redundant system or designed it well for your system, you can come back and a matter of hours, or it broke in the middle of the night, you wake up, tank's dead, and so on is super bad, and it'll break on in a variety of ways. An internal thing could just break and get stuck on. It could miss calibration. The temp probe could get stuff in it and break, and so the thermostat might actually be working right, but it thinks the temp in the tank is actually 62 now for some reason, because the temperature probe broke. It
just keeps heating.
And just keeps trying to heat it. It thinks it's working, but it doesn't. So the problem with the heater is it can break on or off in either way. Off, you can probably survive a really long time. Depending on where you live and how cold your house is. But off or on. It could be hours to days, depending on how powerful your heater is. And again, it may not just keel over at. It gets up to 85. You know, like the tank may survive 85 for a short period of time, but if it's 85 for 4 days and you didn't know it, like usually things go like this. You know, like, hey, it looks kind of funny. Blah! You know, like, everything dies, man. Like all at once. It's just a chain of events. It just goes south. So, like, yeah, I don't know, man. There's your answer.
Yeah.
Right.
There was one in here, and here.
Hey, no heater for me. I live in the Bahamas.
Ah, good for you.
Okay, yeah,
That's
good for
same
you.
thing with Florida too.
Hey, you want to change
WWC.
lives? I'm in. But so cooling, man. We don't talk about cooling.
Oh yeah, that was one thing I have listed on the list here too.
So chillers.
We're talking about. I mean, for us, it's easy to talk about heaters this time of year because it's freezing outside and snowing.
Nobody uses chillers either, man.
But chillers, well,
it's so rare.
people do.
I mean, we sell like a couple of them, man. Like.
But for the most part, people are relying, I would say, more on like their air conditioning, their ambient room temperature, coupled with like some fans. Like there was we used to have one on across here. Some of those, I think Tunes has them. The fans that blow straight across, they mount on the edge of the tank.
Yeah,
we've had some big ones on the back.
Yeah, so the way this works is the fan, you know, and most of you probably already know, but like, you know, I've had somebody ask me once, like, how does the fan work? Because, you know, it's like, you know, blowing warm air, you know, if your room's already 80 degrees and you blow 80-degree air, is it going to stay 80 degrees? And, like, it doesn't work that way, man. The way it works is it's promoting evaporation. And evaporation is, like, energy release, and heat is energy release. So anything you can do to promote evaporation in the tank with the fan
Power heads churning,
break its surface tension, or anything will help evaporation and will help reduce the temperature in the tank. In most cases, fans are adequate. We're not running halides and stuff these days anymore. Fan definitely venting the hood out is usually adequate.
Yeah.
I'd say actually where I see it a lot is smaller tanks where there isn't as evaporation, and balance between the amount of equipment on the tank and the amount of water is disproportionate. So water changes temperature a lot faster. You're
taking more equipment in the tank with the amount of watts that, I mean, you could almost say that, say a 50 or 60 watt skimmer is putting 50 to 60 watts worth of heat into the body of water.
And it's a big body of water or small body of water. So like that ULM that's in your office now, I gave them the SPS one.
Yeah.
So that one, I had to put a fan on it because, you know, we had the UV sterilizer on it. We had, I mean, it's only 60-gallon tank. Had two return pumps. It had, like, you know, all these power heads on it.
Oh, even the fuge light. The fuge light that was on. Yeah.
It had like so much stuff on it for a really small body of water.
Yeah.
So. So cooling, I definitely would go to fans as much as possible. And for those who don't know, the Tunes one is just like a laptop fan, you know, and you can actually find those in the open market for half the price.
Aqua Wind or something. Yeah,
the Aqua Wind is a Tunes thing. But
yeah, the two fans side by side, but they have vents that.
Yeah, basically you put your laptop on it, keep it cool. But, you know, the reality is it comes with a nice little clip that's glued on the bottom, and that clip is like, I don't know, unless you want to jerry rig it one on there. The clip actually is really, it's not worth 30 more bucks, but it is at the same time.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to stick on the side of the tank. I don't want to put it underneath my laptop. So
yeah.
But you can find cheaper one out there for the do-it-yourself people out there. For those that do not want to try to jerry rig their own clip for a piece of electricity, it's going to sit on the top of some water.
You know, one of my favorite things was to do, of course, I'm a gear junkie, so and I love the Apex and I love the breakout box, or even not even a breakout box, but you can tie it off of relative humidity to start a fan and things like that. You can wire that into a breakout box. But I mean, plugging a fan into one of your controllable outlets and saying, "Hey, if the temperature's over such and such, turn this fan on," and then it just kind of auto corrects itself over time. But
usually I give those ones a big swath too, like a degree or something, you know, 2 or something to like turn on and off, so the fan will just turn on and off all the time. But,
so nobody uses chillers.
I mean, some people do. So here's the problem with the chiller. Like, it heats your house.
Yeah.
So the reason that your air conditioner is outside of the house is because it's taking the heat in your house and it's putting it outside.
The hot air out.
Yeah. So if you have the chiller that's in your room, and some people are like, I was about to say dumb, but that'd be mean. Some people would even put the chiller inside their stand. You know, so like you're just pulling hot air out of your tank and pumping it back into the sump.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the sump area, which is just heating the thing all over again, right? So you got to find a place to put it. It's noisy. It's expensive.
It's a point of failure.
Point of failure
mechanically
on or off.
And water,
Yeah, because temperature probe this thing can go too. So failure on or off can freeze the tank. In this case, too cold could be an issue.
Yeah.
And redundancy in a chiller. That's just ridiculous.
Oh.
Like, who would ever buy 2 chillers in case one was going to go down?
Wow.
Yeah, that'd be dumb.
Because they're cost prohibitive
Yeah,
to do that.
It's space, cost. I mean, you have to. I guess it wouldn't be dumb if you got like a tank that's like 300 grand and stuff into it. Like you've invested like your whole inheritance in this tank. Buy 2 chillers.
I'm buying chillers.
Yeah, but like outside of that, man, 2 chillers is crazy. So yeah, so for some of you, heat is an issue. Usually, it's those of people that have hoods or smaller tanks, fans. Like, and the bigger the fan, the better it'll work. Also, putting power heads up at the top to promote evaporation will definitely help.
And maybe turning your thermostat in your living room down just a tick or two.
So ambient room temperature, right? And so like people totally forget about this all the time, man. Ambient room temperature is probably a bigger driver of temp than the heater or fan in your tank, right? So all this stuff is kind of designed around the fact that most people live about 70 degrees, right? So if your family, somebody in your family like wants to fight that and just like wants to save power or whatever and will let the house get up to 85 all the time, you're just not going to have a tank very long. Or, you're going to have to, buy a chiller or whatever. There are also people who don't like heat in their house. Like
that would be
my
me.
grandma.
Yeah.
Like she likes turning the heat down at night.
Yeah.
So like, it goes down to like 6 degrees at night, man.
Yeah.
That's bad for the tank. Like you just don't think about it that way, but it's true.
That's kind of another reason why I don't have a tank at the house anymore. Is I had the Nest thermostat, but I couldn't do anything with it because I had to keep my tank or my house within this set of temperature, so I could keep the tank going.
Well, I mean, you could put another heater on, but like, so for sure, man, for sure.
Somebody had asked at what range do you set the apex? So the variance when you're controlling the heater. There it is. Yeah, what temperature range do you set the apex to? 1 degree of flex or more? And you're less than a degree.
Yeah, I can't help it, man. Like, I like a
set
stability
one at
nut.
78.0 and one at 78.1.
I just find anything with the corals, man, is like any change is a bad change.
So they call this the
I
history
can't tell you this
system.
one is true or anything, so like don't like treat that like it's the reefing Bible or anything. But like and there's definitely currents in the ocean that change temperature and stuff. So it's not like they have perfect stability either in most cases.
Yeah.
But for me, like if you can do anything in the aquarium to make sure that the coral has to spend 0 energy trying to adjust to any changes, it's a good move,
right?
Yeah, it's stability, simple and stable. And so like I shoot for 1/10 of a degree, and it will probably reduce the lifespan of whatever heater solution you're using by powering it on and off
a
that
lot
often.
more. Yeah,
and so know that, that's up to you. I'll say if like the guys over at Worldwide, they don't even use heaters because they're such a
well, their environment is controlled. The
ambient temp, and it's a 900-gallon body of water that does not change temperature.
Oh, it's gonna take fast. Yeah, exactly.
So like turning the lights on during the day and stuff like isn't going to be the same as it would be at your house. Yeah. And so, if any, man, like a half a degree, one way or the other. So it's just not the same thing. But like they say that it can change up to 2 degrees throughout the day with all the equipment turned on or off, right?
Not enough to shock the coral.
Yeah, and for them, man, the 2 degrees is a better solution than it is to run heaters in the tank to begin with. Power, cost, risk. There's this little risk, especially, man, in a work environment where there's a whole team of people there.
So people have their hands
365 days a year taking care of these things, knowing what temperature the room is. If anybody noticed it was getting hot in the building, like it would be fire alarm to get the air conditioner guys in there.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably got them on speed dial, air conditioner guys. You probably back up redundant air conditioners in the building, you know. I know they have all kinds of power solutions and stuff in there. So, I mean, I'm sure they got air conditioners break, so they have to have a backup. So some of that stuff doesn't really apply to a home environment. You don't have people there. I mean, you're sleeping half the time you're there or at work. So like there's a couple hours a day that you're actively would know these kind of things.
And plus we don't have unless you're lucky, that large of a body of water where to change the temperature like that, easy.
So I'd tell you if it changed 1 degree either way, which is like a 2 degree swing throughout the day, it's probably not going to harm the tank any. and your heater may last longer.
Good.
May. If the 0.1 degree that I would do is probably the other extreme, heater's probably not going to last as long. And I don't know, I just feel better about straight lines. I can't give you any good reason other than that.
Yeah. Philip down here asks, or no, it was Darwin. And he asked, what's your thoughts on an inline heater? Now, I've heard of them, but I haven't used one myself.
I think Aquatic Life sells these like little reactors,
Yeah.
right? And then you can put a heater in the top of it and it pumps water like through the heater. And the first time I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
And then I thought about it and like, what possible difference is that than just stick it in the sump?
Yeah. It's the same.
I mean, just except for I got another pump pumping water through it. It looks cool. Like, and it's like
Sort of reminds you of a UV
I'm a gear
sterilizer.
junkie, so
Yeah.
like I want to think like, oh man, that solves some problem, but I can't see a single problem that solves. Like,
I mean, space, you're just getting multiple smaller heaters.
it's more space because it's got to be external.
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't have to be, but it's kind of designed that way. It's like I don't know. There's
fact-
got to
cool
be
factor.
a reason somewhere out there in some weird design, but like I don't think I'd use the inline heater. I just can't think of a scenario where it is adding any major benefit in terms of the cost and no more stuff to maintain. Especially if I had to put a pump to feed it, it probably would come off the overflow. But yeah, then what if the overflow speeds a bunch of bubbles into it and then I'm heating air in there instead of water? Like,
Yeah.
I just can't think of a reason I'd use it.
Yeah. Cody asked a good question. If he has two heaters, should he place them next to each other? In your scenario, when you're running two off of that one controller that can hold up to 1,000 watts, then it doesn't really. I would say it really wouldn't matter. But like if you're using two heaters for redundancy, and one is your primary and one is your secondary, I think you've pitched that one. I think it was the ULM build. You were talking about setting one slightly lower than the other one, so it's a backup to the first one. And should you place those in the same area?
Okay, so if you use two heaters and you put them in like either, and you're not controlling with a controller,
Yeah.
the chances that you're going to get them to turn on and off at the same time is zero.
If you're trying to use both of them equally,
like some points they might cross each other in their on and off cycle, but a lot of these things are pretty tight, so they probably won't.
Right.
And so, like in reality, you're probably just running off of one most of the time. And it may drop enough at some point to trigger the other one. But in terms of if I put them in different areas, you know, I definitely would think about that when I'm running like an Apex when I can measure both areas. And I
Right.
could probably think of some intelligent, you know, over-engineered reason as to do that. But like in general, I guess I'd probably put them in the same area unless I didn't have room. If I was monitoring the two different areas, then I'd know when one of them failed, maybe, but that probably isn't true. I don't know. I'd have to really think about that, and I bet you there is a reason. It just isn't
I think if
mission critical, I bet.
I think if I was running them separately, where one is intentionally set lower than the other one as a backup, then I wouldn't have a problem putting them next to each other because primarily the one that's set higher is just going to be controlling the tank, and should it fail, then I'll know. And actually, that's the way that we set it up on the ULM. Was they are pretty close to each other, or in the same chamber, and we put a power usage alert on the outlet that the second heater was plugged in, so that we knew when that one actually powered on, the other one was failing.
I feel like I'm just so certain there is a reason to do this, but like, why would I put if I got the skimmer chamber and that's what I'm heating, right? Like, and I got 250 watt heaters. What would be the value of 150 here, rather than two 150s here, one here, and then one like say in the return pump area, which would be a terrible idea because it could get unsubmerged in there pretty easy. Maybe in between the baffles, but like in the end, I'm just heating this and then I'm heating that. What's the difference?
No, if you're using them together.
Yeah.
Oh.
Shooting from the hip here, I can't give you a reason why I do that. I put them both in the same chamber.
Good question.
All right, man. We got we're 2 minutes over, so let's take two more and we'll call it a day.
Okay, cool.
All right. What exactly is the calcified substance that builds up on heater, and is it potentially harmful? Yeah, it's poison, man. No. It's just calcium carbonate.
Precipitate.
Yeah, so anything that's warm in the tank will precipitate, more than other things. So pumps, return pumps, heaters.
It's more prevalent for sure if you're dosing two-part and your two-part dosing gets out of whack.
Yeah, or if you're dosing, like say you dose it into the skimmer area and your heater's in there and there's low flow through there, well, you're going to have really high concentration. Especially if you're using like a bubble magus dosing pump that just kind of squirts a lot of it in at one point in time instead of slow. Your alkalinity in that chamber is going to go from probably like your average of 8 or 9 to 14. All at once, and it's going to stay at 14, 13, 19 over the next 10 minutes. In that 10 minutes, you're going to start to get a lot of precipitation in there. So that is what that is, man. And
well, with that in mind, if it's happening specifically on your heaters, then you might just want to change the heater or the place that you're dosing or the heater location.
Yeah, actually, if it's happening like that, because it doesn't happen to everybody. So it just happens when things are likely to precipitate. So if you're seeing that all over your heaters,
dose in a high flow area?
Yeah, think about how you're dosing.
Yeah.
Dose it slower, dose it to a different area. Think about how to not create isolated pockets of high alkalinity or calcium. They're temporary, but try to reduce it. Maybe you're running too high levels to begin with. And that may be just the way you want to do it, because there's, some growth benefits and stuff maybe with associated the higher alkalinities and whatnot. You may be okay with that to maintenance my pumps and stuff more often, or my heaters. But I would clean them. I can't give you a good reason as to why a dirty heater functions better than a clean one, or vice versa rather. But I'll go to the same thing. Well-maintained, clean gear is safer than none. You'll pick it out. You'll notice that the precipitate has broken a seal in there or something.
Could work its way.
Wedged its way in. All right, let's see. We got one more.
Let's see. Good one. Talked about that.
Oh, hey, man.
What you got?
Having a stand full of controllers and electronics. Has anyone had any issues with humidity? All right. Oh, repeats.
I was just talking about that relative humidity type of monitor. I think, a lot of people's stands, if the sump was in this stand, which is fully encased and enclosed, I think the relative humidity would go up pretty significantly and fast. Yeah, I mean, you
got to think though, dude. To get droplets of water to form, you're talking like a sauna. Right?
Yeah.
And so I've had humidity in 80% humidity in my basement when I was running all those frag tanks and stuff down there. It's destroying the house. There's no question. It was the stupidest thing I ever did. I mean, it actually hurt the house, but if I maintained it a long time, whatever I thought I was doing with my aquariums, it was going to hurt the house more. So 80% humidity in your home is a bad idea. But I wasn't seeing water droplets form all over the place. But I just bought a house, and I'm hoping to do a build video, for everybody. And one of the things I asked is a fish room I want to put in actually has the electrical panel in it. And I asked them, is this going to be a problem? Am I going to get humidity building up inside there? And it's attached to the cement wall, so it's a little colder in there and whatnot. And they said no, but you know what? Doesn't matter. The cold air return is in there, and you're going to see me drill a hole in it to vent the air out. No question.
It's undeniable, though. In the wintertime in the houses that I've been in the wintertime, the excess condensation on the windows, tank environment, non-tank environment.
So windows
there is
and glass,
humidity
man,
for sure.
So what that's happening though is when there's a vast change in temperature.
Yeah.
One side of this glass is 0 and the other one is 82 and super high humidity.
Right.
That's where that's happening. So there is a scenario where you got a little tropical rainforest in your sump somehow, man, where it's probably an issue. I'll just say, in general, we're doing a lot of electricity, a lot of cords, a lot of stuff, a lot of salt water.
Yeah.
So make it look nice, neat and tidy in there. If you think it's too humid, vent it, man. Buy a $5 fan, man, and probably $10 fan, whatever. But go to a computer store and just you don't even have to like have a humidity sensor. Just
No,
tell
you
it
don't.
to turn the 3-watt fan on for
a few hours
10
a
minutes,
day.
10 minutes an hour or
Yeah,
something,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Uh-huh.
Or all day, who cares? Yeah, it's 3 watts.
3 watts.
So like, yeah, if you think it's that big of a problem, solve it.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, if you're in there and you're like, man, oh, water.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good. Solve that problem, man. So, all right. You know what we're gonna do next week? I
that?
haven't told you.
No,
I
you
told,
haven't.
I told David. I don't know if we're gonna be able to pull this off. So, I mean, cross your fingers for us. But I was thinking, man, we, next Monday or Friday rather, we're doing the
This
nutrition.
Fridays?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're doing like coral nutrition, and I wrote 13 pages of stuff, man. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, poor Dave here. We got all day rock meetings
If that,
tomorrow.
if that gives you guys any idea of how long of a video that is, what you said, 40? 40, about 40 minutes.
That's 40 minutes, man, on feeding your corals. And I got to tell you, it's good stuff. Like, I wrote this one, and I'm like, man, this is where it'll come together for me. Right? Like, I'm super happy about it. Like, I think people are going to, like, have the light bulb thing kind of go off. Like, I get it now. And all that's, like, misdirection of stuff that, you get out there, and it's hard to know what to believe. This was, I think it really puts it together. We get our experiences, we get WWC's experiences, and more importantly, I mean, this is like really super geeky to read, but Dana Riddle, man, has coral nutrition out there. There's part 1 through 6, man. Like, I got through like
Scientific
I read the
journal?
whole thing,
Yeah.
went through like 4 of them, and then like even got too geeky for me. But like you read the summaries and stuff on it, and like, man, this guy's done so much research, and so it's just like sometimes the stuff just gets lost. Like, I mean, we knew this stuff years ago, and just nobody shared it proper, And so, like, we take all these different experiences together and give something proper about how to treat nutrition in your corals.
Yeah.
And one of the things that WWC does is makes their own food.
Yeah.
So what do you think we're gonna do?
We're going to make some food
I
next
think
week?
we're gonna live, man.
DIY,
Live make food.
Live DIY food?
Yeah.
So all that we had a live stream where we talked about how ways we do it. Now we're going to show you.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Oh,
gonna
that's
be
sweet.
like scallops and shit. Excuse me, scallops and stuff shooting all over the place.
I promise
man.
I won't eat the oysters this time. Made me a little
Oh,
sick.
that was gross.
Yeah, well.
I don't know. I dared him to eat an oyster.
I will do it.
And he did. That was terrible. It
awesome.
wasn't an oyster. It was like a canned clam or
It
something.
wasn't
It was
good.
gross.
It wasn't
But yeah, we're gonna blend it all up, put it in the processor. We may even use a cheese
a little bit of
grater.
tank.
We'll show it to you, like what the different particles do.
yeah, cool.
And I'm saying that we're gonna do all this. I'm not 100% sure.
This means a lot of prep work for me.
I know. We gotta go to the Asian store again.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. So one of the things I love to do is go buy the Asian mixes and stuff from the Asian store. They have some of the best places to get seafood all in one, and Costco.
Oh, yeah.
Costco has little bags of the stuff too, and like scallops and things and shrimp are kind of expensive at a lot of places.
Yeah.
Not at Costco.
Buy 'em in bulk.
Yeah, they're cheap there, man. So
Cool.
Yeah. So
That's
I don't
exciting.
know. I can't give you 100%. We're gonna do this.
We'll try.
I was just talking to Dave about it. I feel like I wanted to share. Maybe you guys can like say, "Hey, man, do that for sure."
Start
and then he'll
commenting.
just like force us, force our hand.
Hit us on AskBRS TV, Facebook group, say you want this done. We'll probably make it happen. We'll find a way.
Or we'll just be super lame. And
Or
do
we'll just
something
sit here and talk
I don't know,
about
just
food.
talk about fish eggs or something. Yeah. I don't know. All right, see you next
Cool.
week.
All right,
or
guys.
actually Friday, I guess. And next week live. See you.
All right, see ya.